Good day, everyone. Welcome to this new series. I'm James from HubSpot. I'm one of the co-founders of HubSpot, and we're doing this series basically to give a bit more color to what it's really like working and living within the HubSpot platform. So today I've got Andrea, who's one of our HubSpot onboarding specialists, and she's one of the people that work with our different clients with setting up their CRM and making the most of the HubSpot platform. And we've also got Tony, who's one of our lovely partners, and he's joining us to chat a bit about what the experience is within HubSpot and using it as a platform and like what it is as the experience. So over to you, Andrea.
Thank you, James, and thank you, Tony, for joining us here. So my first question to Tony would be, how did he started working actually with HubSpot, and why this happened, this choice?
Yeah, well, this is a I think it's an interesting story. So you might have heard of a bloke called Marcus Sheridan. You may not have heard of him, but he was very big in the world of HubSpot about 10, 15 years ago even. He was known then as the sales lion, and he was famous because he transformed his swimming pools business into one of the first ever inbound businesses. Basically started creating content to answer questions for his customers and saved his business. The story was the business was turned around, which was a fantastically inspiring story. And I was really into inbound first off, but Marcus obviously recommended that you use HubSpot. And it turned out later that he was in cahoots with them. You know, he was a partner of HubSpot, and he's still involved in the HubSpot world now through an agency he co-owns called Impact. It's a fantastic story. So yeah, so I go back sort of like 2012, I would think, 2013, 14 maybe. In fact, discovered Inbound and discovered HubSpot, and I started to use it myself for my own personal use. When I became a consultant, sort of 2015 time, I started to recommend it to my customers. I've been in the ecosystem quite a long time, more so probably in the CRM side of things than the marketing, but I've obviously used all aspects of HubSpot now. But yeah, it was initially for use from a sales perspective and introduced by Marcus Sheridan.
You have a lot of more experience than us, I guess. So, and
I'm just older than you, Andrea. I just got more experience than anybody from
but oh, this is awesome, actually. And I understand you had like quite different customers along this journey. And what would you say that would be like the biggest challenges like you have faced it?
I think there's two challenges you always come up against when working in CRM. The first is the data. The customer's data usually is almost always a mess, is almost always out of date, is almost always incomplete. And they almost always don't want to get rid of it. They almost always think it's got money hidden in it somewhere. So they grab hold of it and keep hold of it. My prediction for CRM is that people are gonna get rid of all of their own data, and they're going to use all new data in CRMs. That's going to happen in the next couple of years. They're going to buy a CRM with data already included, and they're not going to need to bring their old crappy data in. So that's the first big problem that we always come up against, and the other one is adoption. And by that I mean getting people to use the thing in the first place. Everybody hates change. Salespeople seemingly more so than anybody. So it's one thing to build the platform, to put the platform in place, to create the processes for people, and even to train them. But it's quite another to actually get them to use it. And that, for me, is the trick. Get the data right and get them to use it, and you've got a pretty good project ongoing.
Yeah, this makes sense actually. And what would you say like that would be like the kind of project that you like the most to start, like when implementing HubSpot or just adjusting it?
Yeah, no,
Like, what kind of projects do you like?
It's a really interesting question. So I'm a sales guy from way back. So I like working with sales teams. I like working with customer service hub as well. And marketing hub obviously is just a fantastic bit of kit. It's brilliant. I've done marketing for myself. I've done marketing for the businesses that I've run and businesses I've worked for. But I'm a sales guy, so sales projects are the ones that I'm drawn to, and I'm especially keen to work with sales teams that are forming, sales teams that are just kind of emerging as a team. Maybe they haven't got a CRM at all, or they've got a CRM and it doesn't work. Maybe they're on something like Copper or Sugar CRM or something like that, and we want to take them to a proper CRM like HubSpot. So those are my favorite projects.
Do you find it easier when they're less established or more established in terms of getting them over to the way they've got to be?
Generally, the less experience they have, the easier it is to work with people because they come with less baggage. And if they've been using one system for the last 10 years, in one case, 30 years, there was a system the guys were using, and it was literally ingrained. It was in their DNA, I think. So that makes the change part difficult. It's easy to sell it. It's easy to impress people with what HubSpot can do. But actually then getting them to change over is the really difficult bit. So yeah, so the less experience they have, the lower their expectations, the more open to direction they are, the better the project will be, and the more successful the project will be.
Yeah. Do you have like any particular like use case that you're like proud of, that like a first big project?
I don't know. Yeah, I think I'm proud of a lot of the work that we do with you guys, especially. I think we've cracked some very complicated cases. I think we work together really well, and I just like seeing happy customers. I would say, we've got a number of mutual clients we work on that I'm really proud of the work, especially I would say, especially the enterprise ones, because that's a learning for us to go up market, to get more complex jobs and have more moving parts is difficult, So working with HubSpot first of all has made that much easier than it otherwise would have been, but actually made it enjoyable because we've got technical partners in you guys that we can trust, which is a big deal. I think is really important. So I'm proud of the work that we do together, Andrea. Even the work I do with James.
Really? Wow. That's saying something.
And what would you say like how do you like to start like a project? What kind of information do you think like is the most important, like with any new customer you may have, like, or a new project?
So I've learned this. It's been a painful lesson over the years. I'm not a very detail orientated person. I'm very driven, very much a D type, very much a salesperson. So project management doesn't come naturally to me. You must create, and we have now, but you must create a documentation, a process that you follow each time. I think in terms of our process, we use two particularly. We use something called process mapping, and we use user stories to try and understand what the client's requirements are. If you don't do that, you get yourself into a hell of a mess. Because I usually charge off and sort of start digging in one place and going all the way to the bottom and then come back up and realize that something else hasn't even begun in the project, So I think that's what you have to do to start with. Get a kickoff call with the client, explain how you're going to work, set up your technology, your meetings, set up your the project management tools with them, and then get those requirements gathered first and foremost. And then sign off on the design. I think that's really important because again, we've learned to our cost. You can build things that you think is exactly what the client wanted. When they're delivered, either they want something else, or they wanted something different, or they want something more. So it's really important to control that first piece of the project.
That's a really good.
Yeah, I agree.
People who come into a CRM for the first time, they don't really know what they want even. So
Exactly.
you can with all the best will in the world, ask somebody what do you want to get out of HubSpot, but that's not really the best way to frame it, I find, because they've probably seen what it can do and its features and how exciting it is and everything, but they don't really. It's hard for them to relate that to their own business. So really understanding like what it is you do, what your pain points are.
It's like the art of the possible, we call it, and it's actually quite distracting. So I get really excited about HubSpot. I get really excited about lots of things, but I can be on a demo with the client and we start on Sales Hub, and before you know it, we're into Ops Hub and Commerce Hub and Marketing Hub, Service Hub, and talk to them about customer service surveys and customer service portals and all sorts of things. And the client loves it. I get really excited, but we're just blowing each other's mind. You know, we don't even know now when to start. And this is why I think user stories are so important. If you understand what it is the client's trying to do without reference to HubSpot, right? That's the tricky bit.
Mm.
Just find out what it is they're trying to do. What are they trying to automate? Or what are they trying to process? What are they trying to achieve? Then because we're the HubSpot experts, we can build a solution for them based on their actual problem, based on the thing that they're trying to do, as opposed to, well, how do you fancy a bit of this? How do you fancy using target accounts? Oh, you should use the prospecting tool because people love that. They think, oh yeah, that's fantastic. They may have no bearing on the actual process they have in the first place. So process mapping for sure uncovers what you're doing, but the user stories I find are really powerful, because if somebody says, yeah, this is what I do. I take leads in off our website, I put them all into a spreadsheet. I make sure that the right sales rep gets taken to the right lead. I make sure the salesperson's followed it up. I send out the proposed, when they tell you that story of what their job is, and we go, oh, well, we could do that with them, we can do that, and we can do that, and we can do that. Almost say without reference to HubSpot, really, because as far as the customer's concerned, it's just a tool, right? They don't care. Well, they might care if it's HubSpot because they like the brand or whatever, but they care about solving their problems. They don't really care about the latest, funkiest feature. It's difficult. I find that difficult because you get a bit blinded. There's another update, another beta, another fantastic feature. And I love telling people about that stuff, but it can overwhelm them. And it just causes the project to get bogged down.
Yeah. I was going to ask, but I think I may have the answer already. I was going to ask, like, which part of HubSpot do you feel more comfortable with? Which I guess is like me with sales, because I don't know, but just to confirm, would be this Sales Club?
Yeah, I would say so. The CRM generally, I think, segmentation, the data, the automation, but certainly the sales tools. I've used them myself, in anger. I've used them to sell. I still use them on occasion. And okay, there are bits of Marketing Hub that you use, but some of the really cool Marketing Hub stuff is for bigger businesses. If you're looking at events-based marketing, you're looking at reporting, you're looking at doing really clever things like when people have done this and this and this, sending them an email series. It's great, but it's quite esoteric. It's quite out there. If you've got a marketing team you're working with, they'll be really interested in that. Whereas Sales Hub, I think you can use that if you're one person or if you're 100 people. So that's I'm definitely more comfortable on the sales side of things. And working with salespeople, I enjoy that as well. I enjoy the coaching and the training side of things. So it's not just the technology. In fact, it's probably less the technology for me. It's more about helping salespeople to achieve their targets, helping them to overcome objections, helping them to learn how to negotiate, and that sort of stuff. That's what I really enjoy.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, actually, because on marketing, usually marketing teams, they expect to have like great reports, numbers, and targets. But when you go to sales teams, they usually they just want to sell. So if you can help them to sell, it's like a pretty big deal for us, I guess. So this is quite
Yeah,
what I
that's
think
a really
when
good
I'm
point.
starting working with some projects. I really like seeing this happen.
That's a really good point. You will see salespeople's work can be
And I don't know,
transformed.
James, do you have any?
Oh, I think you're.
Sorry, Pat.
Yeah, I really like it.
Andrea, I think I talked over you then.
I think we lost
No,
connection.
I was gonna ask James.
Do you want to repeat your last?
Are we back?
Okay.
I was just gonna ask if you have any last questions for Tony.
I would say, what do you think the overall direction is going to be with HubSpot over the next few years? Like, what do you think are the most significant things that are going to be changing? I know you talked about the data, and that's a really interesting point, but is there anything else that you really is core to the focus?
Yeah.
Well, I very firmly believe that your experience, the user's experience of using CRM is going to be transformed in the next 2-3 years. AI is going to come to the fore, and it's going to allow for we call it natural language now, but it'll just be language then. It's going to allow users of CRM to get rid of all of any technical aspect. HubSpot already does a good job in terms of trying to make it easy for people to use, but AI is going to make it easier and easier. You're going to be able to fill in your data automatically. HubSpot, as you say, it already does an element of this with telephone calls and emails getting automatically created. But there'll be more opportunity for salespeople to do that, more enablement. There'll be more insight coming from AI. And in terms of the people then using it, particularly from a reporting perspective, they're going to be asked for a report that just gets automatically generated rather than have to go in and build a report in the report builders. We see all technology go this way. If you think about it, CRM is still very user friendly. It's still quite hard to get your head around, and all tech on that curve, on that adoption curve, gets easier and easier and easier. And I think that's what's going to happen. So they'll maintain the power, and our roles as experts, I think, will evolve, because those people will still need people to set it up, to plug it all in, to get it to work, and to make sure that they're getting what they need out of it. But I think from the user perspective, it'll just get easier and easier and easier to work. That's the big thing for me. Think of Apple, think of Apple Mac computers, arguably the first to use graphical user interfaces. We're getting to the point now where we'll just have an audio interface. We'll just have you just use ChatGPT at the minute. It's transforming everything, and it'll absolutely transform CRM.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That'll be really interesting to see how that develops over time. And I wonder if it'll even get to the point where it'll be able to run itself, like the CRM will be able to run itself and do all the touch points. Like perhaps for not quite maybe quite a while before that happens. And in the meantime, it's just going to be us focusing on the things that we as humans are better at focusing on. But like, who knows how far that can go?
I think the only issue will be, in terms of dealing with that, I think the only issue will be the quality, the data hygiene, as we call it. And the very first thing I learned in my very first computer class in secondary school, before you guys were born, was I'll use the polite version. G in equals G out. Garbage in equals garbage out, and exactly the same thing goes for your CRM system. And just because AI may be pulling data in, it doesn't mean that the data is going to be right. Just because salespeople are reporting, it doesn't mean that they're reporting correctly, and so on and so on. So there's always going to be a place for that quality aspect of it. And I think this is the danger. Marketing is going down this route where it's all about quantity. It's all about the number of words you can produce, the amount of content you can produce, the number of podcasts you can be a guest on, and so on and so on. But actually, it's quality that's always worked. And that'll be the same watchword in the CRM. There's no point sitting as a sales director getting a load of bum information out of your CRM, as easy as it is to use. If it doesn't make any sense, or it doesn't add up, or it doesn't help, then I'm not going to use it. So I think it is going to be really interesting. And probably the quantity will lead, but that quality will always come back to be the main point. We've seen it in content marketing now. AI's flooded the world with content, and it's all rubbish. Nobody reads it. It's all rubbish. So the great content producers, the great personalities, are still what people who get all the attention. That's why they're called influencers these days. But they would have been personalities or celebrities, or business celebrities or showbiz celebrities, whatever. People who have that talent still shine through. And I think that'll always be the case.
Yeah, no, totally agree with you there. Awesome. Well, thanks very much, Tony, for your insight. That was really interesting to listen to.
My pleasure.
This is a bit of a new series we're doing, focusing really on like what it is like to be in HubSpot and what the experiences are with using it as a platform. So obviously in Tony's case, he not only uses it for himself and for his own business, but he also helps other people alongside us to make the most of it. But if you want to talk about your experiences with HubSpot and your thoughts for the future, if you're really passionate about it as a system, then feel free to reach out to us. That's hello@hubstart.io, and we'd happily to have a chat with you about it and maybe do a video together. So have a good rest of the day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.